Pol, zdravo.
Zdravo, Jan.
Lepo, da si prišel.
Lepo, da si me povabil, ne?
Ja. Veš kaj, za začetek, jaz rekel, da razjasniva, da bomo tokrat v dveh jezikih, ne? Najverjetneje, ne? Slovenščina pa angleščina, ne? Zdaj, mogoče najboljše, da ti poveš, zakaj je temu tako.
V bistvu, I can't speak differently. Born in London and raised in London, but also raised in Slovenia, and I feel Slovene, but I also feel like I'm an Englishman, so yeah. Tako da slovenščina mi je ful všeč, pa ne, nekateri izrazi ne moreš v angleščini, ne, in nekateri izrazi ne moreš v slovenščini, ni enako. So, yeah. Let's just go with the feeling. Let's just go how it feels natural.
Ja. Zdaj, mama je bila Slovenka, ne? Dolni Slaveči.
Ja.
Oče je bil Indijec, ne?
V bistvu iz Perzije, ker takrat, ko je njegova mama prišla, se je poročila iz Perzije v Indijo. Tako da on je potem bil rojen v Bombeju, ampak drugače cela družina je bila iz Perzije.
Spoznala sta se v Londonu, oče pa mama, ne?
Ja, mama pa iz Prekmurja in je šla potem v Maribor živeti zaradi operacije. In tam živela je bila, she was adopted. And so she wasn't brought up by her parents. And then also my dad, he wasn't brought up by his parents either, most of the time. They were both moved around because of war, and because of illnesses. And then went to they both met up in London eventually. Yeah.
Poli sta že ona dva po svoji naravi nekako zaznamovala tvojo pot, o kateri bova še nekaj govorila, ne?
Sigurno. Večkrat, ne, ko sem bil bolj mlad, pa sem bil bolj izpostavljen. Where are you from? Kaj delaš? How do you know all this stuff? And you know, as you get older, you have to recognize that a lot of this is inherited. It comes from our grandparents, our parents, uncles, aunties. Ne? So a lot of what we do and how we behave, ne? Inherited DNA, behavior, ideas, vzorci, ko grejo naprej. So I always say that whatever I've done, but a lot of it I have to give credit to my parents and my grandparents. Ne?
Zdaj, če za trenutek še pri mami ostaneva, ker pač na enem pogovoru, ki sva ga imela, se mi je ena taka informacija, ki se mi je zelo zanimiva, ne? Anton Vratuša je bil stric mamin, ali kako je točno. Ker malo sem si pogledal potem, ne? Veš, pa sem videl, da je bil to eden pomembnejših ljudi v bivši Jugoslaviji, ne? Glede na to, da je bil šef kabineta Edvarda Kardelja, pa predsednik predsedstva Republike Slovenije, pa še kaj drugega, ne? Tako da tudi tu izhajaš iz ene zanimive veje, ne? Ki tudi nekaj napoveduje, ne?
Yeah, this I wasn't aware when I was younger, because I met, Anton, Stric Anton much later, to get to know him, and also found out things later on in life about both sides of the family, from Slovenia, Yugoslavia, and from Persia, India. But, life is a contradiction, is very important to me. Ker jaz vidim življenje kot ena kontradikcija. Ne? Delamo, potem vidimo. Ne? And iz Prekmurja smo bili včasih hlapci, ne hlapci, pač normalni kmeti, ne? In iz Indije pa prav dvori. In moja stara mama, she was a princess. In zanimivo, ne, da če gremo od tam, pa pustimo vse, kaj se je dogajalo, ampak kaj se je potem, kam je to vodilo, ne? On the Indian side, Persian side, all that was lost. And what's left is now very ordinary people. Not necessarily highly educated or highly thinking. On the Yugoslav side, Prekmurje, from simple Izniveh, ne? Some of the most intellectual on the mother's side, Stric, and then some of his family, my mother, high intellectuals, ne? Worldwide. Ne? And they traveled the world. They were active in the United Nations for 17 years. Ne? So it's just one of the signs how life is contradictory, ne? And how zapelje stvari življenje. So I wanted to put that on the table. There are many other things that happened in my life that taught me that for me, life is a contradiction. And my indecision is final. My indecision is final. Yeah. I don't want to tell you how to live, but I don't want to live with the idea I have to make decisions. Bullshit. It's the opposite. Observe and accept, and my indecision is final. And then when the občutek je res močen, gremo. Ne? In mogoče moramo včasih riskirati tudi, ko gremo na ta način. Ne? But it's not just from what I learned in theatre or other places, or from literature, or from traveling. Also, what was inherited, it's obvious to me that life is a contradiction.
Torej, tvoj način življenja je s tokom, go with the flow, da se prepustiš,
Try.
pa da te nese.
Yeah, the mind, Jan, the mind doesn't stop. You can try and stop it, but it doesn't stop. You can try and meditate, but all you can do is you can treat it like a child and put it to the side for a bit, or you can occupy it, give it work, but it doesn't stop. So everything that we do, it's a trial. We try. So I try. So I'm not saying that I'm capable of living like that all the time, but jaz sigurno poskušam to vsaki dan.
Ampak ta razgibanost tvojega življenja se je začela že zelo zgodaj, ne? Ker ti si se rodil v Londonu, po letu pa pol prišel v Slovenijo, šel spet nazaj v London, prišel v Slovenijo, bil nekaj let v Sloveniji, tak, da si že hitro začel to svojo svetovljansko pot, ne? Nisi na enem mestu.
Before business came along, I remember when I was 4.5, smo živeli v Mariboru. Pa je ta stara mama, ko ni bila prava stara mama, ko je pač the family who adopted my mother. So we were staying, because that was family now. And prek Murjo, ta prava družina, pa tudi včasih smo šli na obisk. Ampak ta stara mama v Mariboru, ona je bila zelo verna. Moja mama pa ne, atheist, do takrat, ko je prišla nazaj iz Londona. In jaz sem pa rad hodil v cerkev. In sem potem, ko ti dajo oni kruhek, ja. In ko se potem zapoje, amen, in orgle zaigrajo, in vsi pojejo skupaj, to mi je bilo ful zanimivo. In seveda nisem razumel takrat, Pozneje, ko sem se odločil, da grem v islam, sem razumel, zakaj se gre. In pozneje, ko sem šel v jogo, pa še bolj razumel, zakaj se gre in zakaj me je to kot otrok tako zgrabilo. So I remember this from like when I was 4.5, 5 years old, Amen, and the Muslims, Amin, and the yogis, Om, and the Jewish, not very different, and the Buddhists, and the old people of Siberia, all the Red Indians of Northern America. We can come to this later on. This powerful vibration, what it stands for. But all I want to say is that everything is connected, and we normally see ourselves as disconnected. Another contradiction in your life, and we behave like we are disconnected, but we're not.
Pa kaj misliš, da je razlog za to? Ni to kot nek trening oziroma neka pot, ki nam je vsem dana, da moramo jo prehoditi, da pridemo preko tega občutka, da smo nepovezani z vsem, da preko življenja spoznavamo povezanost. Mislim, na kak način razmišljaš o tem?
Moramo, I don't understand this word, to be honest. Nature, I spend a lot of time in nature, in the forest, with water, fire, elements, and I see process. And that water needs to communicate with the earth and do its thing with earth and with the plants and so on, and with the sun. I can't prove or disprove da to mora se dogaja na ta način. But what I can see over almost 60 years is process. And in this process, one thing that's obvious to me is that there is some kind of equilibrium, some kind of dogajanje skupaj, sodelovanje. So from that point of view, I don't see that Earth sees itself separate from water, or one river separate from another river. They are always coming together in one way or another, and air connection. And in the process, just give me a second, I'm coming to the point. In the process that we observe over many years, the objective is the same, is to do something together, to come together. So, whereas in the way we run society, we work to create, my house and my bank account and my car, not your car, and my family. This is my child, No, but my child is special. So, and this goes on all the time, and we don't even realize what we're doing. We don't do it with the intention to be horrible, but this is how we are programmed a lot of the time. But nature doesn't work like that. Nature is working very hard to integrate, to come together.
To je zanimivo, zaradi tega, ker mi smo del narave. Ampak kljub temu smo pa si v glave dali ta program, ker jaz vidim po sebi, da je zelo težko mimo tega programa gledati, mogoče uspe kdaj pa kdaj, potem pa te hitro spet potegne nazaj, da prideš v stare vzorce. Kako torej si ti začel ugotavljati, da to začneš malo spuščati, prepuščati se?
I had some visions, but also had people, key people, called them mentors or gurus, but people who kind of helped me when I was younger. So I remember when I was 7 and I was in the forest, we had this Slovenskih goricah, lokavec, prav v šumi gor smo imeli, v gozdu smo imeli nogometno igrišče, ko smo really rough, and it was only for the local villagers. And my friends didn't turn out to play football, and it was hot and and I was waiting and waiting, and I had this vision, and I saw actually, I didn't know my dad because I was too young to remember him, and I didn't remember anything of London or anything like that. All I knew was Maribor and Slovenske Gorice. I was 7 years old. But I had this vision that I'm going to live in London, I'm going to live in Brazil, and I'm going to live in Slovenia. Not Yugoslavia, Slovenia, but that time it was Yugoslavia. And I'm going to travel the world, and I'm going to collect perspectives. 7 years old, I had this vision, and it was it wasn't words, it was a vision. And I'll get married so many times and have this type of wives. It was all in there, whew. It's like a flash almost. It's have you ever faced death?
Pa recimo, da ja.
Yeah. So you know what happens when you face death. You know how much can happen in a split second, what you feel, what you see. It was the same. It was the same kind of experience. And it's everything is in that split moment. Millions of bits of information. So it's like that. Yeah. And
pa si to razumel takrat, pri 7 letih, tako vizijo močno? Kaj si iz tistega? Ti to zdaj, ko nazaj gledaš, šele razumeš, ali si že takrat neko razumevanje iz tega odnesel?
I had a feeling. I didn't understand it, no. I knew that part of my family was out there, England, India, and so on. But I didn't understand it, no. But I felt it. And I felt it, that's what I'm going to live. And then I forgot about it. And then over the years, that's exactly what happened, all those things, without trying. Yeah. So, but by the time, shortly after that, we went to London and then to Pakistan and got together with my dad. I started living with him when I was 9. 2 years after that, I was living with my dad in London already. From Lokavec, Slovenske Gorice, šola iz 28 otrok na celi šoli. Sem šel v šolo 2500 otrok. Vse narod, ko si lahko. 8 different colors of black and 6 different colors of Indians and Chinese and Greek and you name it, they were there. And gangs, and so it was a shock therapy to go from Slovenske Gorice culture in Jugoslavia, ko smo imeli one rutice pa čakali na Titoja. Pa v London, no one gives a fuck, no one gives a damn about anyone or about anything, If you belong to a gang and you carry a knife and maybe you carry a gun, then you're cool. Ne? That was the reality. Ne? In London to taka šola. In vsako leto smo imeli pač slabe. Grde stvari so se dogajale. Ne? Preveč ljudi, doben se za dobenga ne briga. There's no real one culture, no tradition left. Ne? So that was a shock. But on the other side, I met my grandmother.
Iz Indije.
Yeah. And who was a princess, but they lost everything. And she was still very highly educated, but she decided to go into a life of service. She decided to, because the family were fighting over lots of property and this and that. So she decided to just donate everything and live in a poor area and just be in service. So she was basically healing people, giving them advice and so on. And sometimes when we were visiting, I would sit with her and you would have, a beggar coming off the street wanting her help. And then the prime minister of the country would come in on another day because she was very highly placed. But she made no difference between a beggar, a prime minister, or everyone in between. The difference that she would make, a person would walk in and she would feel it. She would feel it, even without words. She said, go home. No, but I came for your help. Yeah, but you're not ready. Go home. That's it. She could feel before the person opened their mouth, the aura. I saw things, people who couldn't walk, who were ready to work. She got them walking in weeks. Because they were ready to do some serious internal work and let go of denial processes, of deeply rooted emotional processes, stuff like that. Yeah. So out of all the grandchildren, I was the only one who was interested in what was this woman about? What was she doing? Because she used to sit around for 4 hours, 5 hours a day, just like with her beads, and for hours, So anyway, she started to teach me, and she was like a Sufi. She wasn't dancing because women were not into that, but she was all day in mantras, and she taught me mantras. So I took up Islam from 11 to 16, and I was fasting and doing all that stuff. But the most important thing is I learned how to meditate, how to do mantra, not meditate, how to do mantra. People call it meditation, but it's not.
Kakšna pa razlika? Mislim, kaj je mantra, na kak način izvajaš mantra?
With mantra, you are conscious. You perceive everything with your 5 senses. Smell, touch, see, feel, taste. These are the things that keep us here, so we can function. Or you can argue the other side, keep us prisoner from the larger realities. But both are real, in my opinion. However, with mantra, most of the time you're present. You're in the 5 senses. You're here and you're focusing. With meditation, it's like going to sleep. When you go to sleep, you're not saying I'm sleeping now. You prepare. You put some music on, or you have a bath, or you relax, or make love to your partner, or get ready basically to fall asleep, and then you fall asleep. With meditation, is the same thing. There are many different techniques. In the Chinese tradition, they have theirs. In the African, with the orishas, they have theirs. With the shamanic traditions, you have theirs. With Muslim and Christian, pretty similar preparation for meditation. With Buddhist, also quite similar preparation. But it's all that stuff that we're doing. The breathing techniques, the sitting techniques. That's just preparation so that we may fall into the state of meditation, like the state of sleep. And of course, when you are in that state of meditation, it's just an incredible feel. It's just an incredible experience. But there is nothing solid. There is nothing you can bring back with you. There's no I saw this, I did that. It's not like that. You literally, all the people I've spoken to, and the same in my case, you don't remember much. It's kind of like an infinite experience of what? Of everything. Right? So you can't bring anything back with you, right? Apart from the fact, it was good. Right? It was good. So there's all this preparation that we do to fall into that sublime state. Right? And
Kaj pa mantre? Ker tu si pa zavesten, ampak...
yes, but they can take mantras, yeah, because they are vibrational, yeah. They can take you there, yeah. If you follow the certain vibrational path, yeah, they can take you there quicker, yeah. Other mantras can help you to adjust your frequency of vibration of your mind and your body and your heart to become a specific type of aura. Yeah. And then when you walk, that aura can influence things and people around you. So this is why some people are such magnets, realizing or not realizing. And mantras can do that. They can literally, from the center, from the fire, via the nervous system, via the veins, via the blood, they can energize cells on a certain frequency or a number of frequencies. It's a window of frequency, or frequencies always. It's not one frequency. We are full of all kinds of frequencies.
Zakon privlačnosti, torej.
Yeah. I mean, I think some people like Hitler, for example, I believe that he understood mantra. That's my opinion. That he understood mantra, but he used it in a different way. Yeah. On je tudi bil, on je znal privlačiti.
Ja.
Ne? Milijone, ne? Ampak je uporabljal pač v to smer. Ne? And I wanted to mention this because all these techniques, there are many techniques that can bring you power. In Sanskrit, in India, they call it siddhis. And you can gain this power, you can levitate. Or you can have a photographic memory, or you can hear what someone else is thinking. These are all things that people can develop over many years. But what you learn as you go through the scriptures and you practice, Vedanta, or you practice yoga or shamanic practices, is the same thing. You learn that as you gain these powers, you have something special that other human beings can't do. But then you get stuck. In terms of like the journey to everything, to infinity, or to see the larger reality of what is and what isn't. Then you get stuck with those powers. And you become a servant to those powers. So again, you're in a prison, if you like. Or maybe not a prison, but maybe a more limited reality, not the larger possibility.
Se mene zanima, kako si ti prišel do teh razmišljanj, ker mogoče niso kar sama prišla od sebe, moraš si kar nekaj vložiti v to, da si prišel do tega.
Od 10 do 16 sem ogromno meditiral, molil, sedel.
Od 10 do 16 leta?
Do 16.
Zgodaj,
6 let. Ja. Od 10 do 13 je bilo ogromno seksa. I had a lot of sex. Yeah. Ni treba, da gremo zdaj v podatke, ampak there was a lot of sex. And fucked up relationships.
Od 10 do 13.
Yeah. So from that side, I also lost interest in a certain part of society. Like from 13 to 16, I only had 2 friends. And I wouldn't talk to anybody. And I hardly ever went to school. Because as far as I was concerned, society, people were just fucked up. We were all fucked up. So it was a lot of going in, without realizing, just going in. So a lot of meditation between 13 and 16, even more than between 11 to 13. 11 to 13 I was still learning, 13 to 16 was just by myself. No grandmother, no guru, no one there to touch you, just on my own, going in. This is where I learned a lot. With my grandmother, and then people later on, They gave me they catalyzed things. They gave me načine. They gave me structure. But actually, to get to the point that you actually feel and see and believe what you are and how you function, that has to be, I believe that has to be on your own. There has to be time with yourself.
Ampak to je zanimivo, ne? Zaradi tega, ker jaz po lastni izkušnji in po izkušnji vseh, ki jih poznam, tam med 10 pa med 16 te zanimajo čisto druge stvari. Ne? To je mogoče...
Jaz nisem pogledal punce od 13. do 16. Niti pogledal nisem punce. Ni me zanimalo.
Pa kaj se ti je dogajalo, da si prišel do tega? Mislim, kaj to je bil vpliv babice ali na kak način si takrat v tistem času, ker to je zelo neobičajno za tista leta. Ne?
Več stvari. To, ko sem bil v tem procesu že 3 leta mantras, pa meditacija, pa molitve, pa študiral sem the Bible, pa the Holy Koran, pa the Tarot, to sem vse bral, ker me je zanimalo, kaj za to, odkud za to prihaja. Ne? And I was part of societies also, like the Muslim society and this and that association. And then I saw that like these societies were a lot of bullshit because they were not following the book. They were not following the philosophy. They were creating their own. So even between 13 and 16, it became very clear to me that all the religions, as we have them, they're actually the same at the essence, at the philosophical origination level, they're the same. But what people do to them, because I saw my uncles and other people and so on changing these things. So, but Muhammad didn't mean that. Yeah, but Jesus so and so. But how do you know that? No, that's how it was. So that's how books like the Bible and the Holy Quran got rewritten, and now there are how many versions of the Bible or how many versions of the Holy Quran. But what I'm trying to say is that even in Buddhism, which not many people point at Buddhism as like how it's become so religious and how it's brainwashing people. People don't have that perception of Buddhism like of they have with Islam or Christianity, that they are these sects. But even Buddhism has been bastardized, has been diluted down, and there are very few places where they actually have original Buddhism in the original language and along the original practices. Mm-hmm. But it's not just a question of studying. You have to practice, you have to travel, you have to go to these places physically, feel the energy, It's like Egypt and the pyramids and Cleopatra. You want to know more about her. You can study, and I did. But if you don't go there and you don't just kind of get lost in the desert or get lost among the pyramids or get lost in normal society and just see how people, you're never going to get the feeling or, the perception of how does this culture work? What might have happened and how did this all, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Po 16. Kam te peljala pot?
I decided to come out, go out, not be in, go out. And then 17, I fell in love. And that was my first relationship. We were together 9 years. We had 2 children. So we were together from my 17 to my 26, her 16 to her 25. So we were together 9 years. We had 2 children. Yeah.
2 hčerke, ne?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in London. Yeah.
Takrat si počel kaj?
15 to 17, I did a lot of studying to catch up, to be able to go to university at 18. Mm-hmm. So then I went to university. But then I also opened a restaurant with my grandmother's money, when I was 18. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In to je bil nek začetek tvoje poslovne poti, ne? Ko si odprl
Very important.
Mislim, ker je zanimivo, ne? Veš, meni to, da zelo spiritualna, poduhovna je tvoja pot, ampak hkrati pa tudi podjetniško, kar uspešna, ne? Da zdaj nekako se dotakneva te teme, ne? Da si kar...
A veš, ko sem imel tisti daylight dream, ko sem bil 7, ne? Tam sem tudi videl, that I'm going to have a property empire. Mm-hmm. Jaz sem ga videl kot empire, v bistvu ni bil empire, ampak je bilo kar nekaj, ne? Ampak jaz sem videl, da bom tudi to imel, ne? V teh državah, Brazil, Slovenija pa England, ne? In ko sem bil 13, pa sem šel v sebe, sem razvijal tudi a plan.
Tako da je bila potem še kar pot do tega, da si prišel, ne? Si kar nekaj stvari počel, pa iskal pa poskušal, ne, v tem času. Ne.
But what I want to say is like this latent energy. Yeah, I don't believe that one person is more intelligent than another person. I believe that you can be more studied. Yeah, I believe you can be more of a specialist in an area than somebody else. But intelligence, we all have. Now, how academic somebody is, how good somebody is on the farm and understands nature and how to deal with crops and so on, or how good a writer somebody is, or how good a filmmaker somebody is, this ultimately doesn't come down just to intelligence, comes down to actually working, practicing, learning, going deeper and deeper and deeper. Ne? But what I do believe is that we have desires and fears, very deeply rooted desires and fears. And it's very difficult to prove that some of these desires or fears come from our parents or our grandparents or a previous lifetime. But more and more people, as they get older, they kind of identify that this fear, this desire that I've been acting on, consciously or subconsciously acting for the last 20 years of my life, they kind of see this not necessarily theirs to begin with. So it was inherited in some cases. In some cases we developed that desire because of our friends or society or the school or family and so on. But we go, coming back to your last point, these desires, these fears are very important. Because unless we actually are observing our desires and our fears, we're not really understanding why we do what we do. We are just doing. And we are being driven by desire or by fear. Not actually understanding that where this is coming from and exactly what we are doing. We just see the objective that we have to get to. And you get to the objective and you look back. And then it's too late, but you see, oh, I did some good there. Oh, I did some harm there. Oh, I really fucked up. Oh, that was good. But we're at the mercy of these desires and fears if we don't observe this.
Po tvojih izkušnjah obstaja pot iz tega kroga začaranega slepa, strahov, ker nekako smo ljudje od začetka vodeni. Ne? Kje vidiš pot iz tega kroga?
Preko bomo šla v to pot, samo da rečem, it's difficult to talk about these things if someone doesn't believe in karma.
Torej karma tukaj, če rečeš. Veš, kaj samo me zanima, te mesto karma vidiš ti nekaj, kar si ti nabral v tem življenju, ne? Ali karma nekaj, kar se širše razteza preko naših trenutnih življenj?
V tem življenju, prejšnjem in naslednjem. Ker ne vidim, da je to nepovezano. To je vse povezano. Because now we come back again to doing things in life. Why? Where's the why? If I'm not the observer, it's very difficult to understand, to begin to look at, well, why do I do what I do? Why do I behave like that? Why is my ego like that? Or why is my thinking like that? Or why are my relationships like that?
Pa se nekako vso naše življenje izhaja iz strahu. Ne? Imamo en osnovni strah, imamo vsi ljudje, bolj ali manj, ne? To je strah pred smrtjo. Ne?
Yes,
ta je tisti, ki je glavni gon vsega ostalega. Potem, ne? Iz tega nekako izhaja vse skupaj. Ne?
I would say that most of us behave that way. Yeah? I've come across maybe 3 or 4 people who don't operate like that. I believe that they are beyond death or life. For them, death and life is the same thing. But I say that most of us are exactly the way you've explained it. Most of our actions, thinking, activity, action, inaction, because an inaction can sometimes be a stronger action than not acting, depending on the situation. So I agree with you. Yeah.
Takrat si delal vse živo, ne? Vozil si taksi, vozil si kurirsko službo, modeling, igranje, acting, ne? Dosti stvari si poskusil v tistem smislu, ne? Dokler si nisi potem na koncu našel v...
Yeah, od 20, also I was at university at that time. Also my girlfriend got pregnant So we had our first child at that time. I decided to then leave university and go to work. And I wasn't qualified. I didn't have a degree. So I started to do all kinds of work, all kinds. And I ended up in a fashion company. After like a year of doing all kinds of odd jobs, I ended up in a fashion company, moving boxes around, in the stock room. And that was the first kind of professional, real job I had, because from the stock room, I moved to the showroom. And the showroom, we're talking about, 12,000, it was about 4,000. Yeah, imagine almost 500 square meters. That's just a showroom. And there were another 700 meters of stock room and designer room. So our showroom was just the showroom with sofas and the tea lady and all the clothes being displayed beautifully, and the models, 12 models working, wearing these clothes, modeling these clothes physically for the clients. 500 square meters, yeah. So I ended up selling. It just happened. And ended up being, when I was 21, I ended up being assistant manager. Without wanting to. But I left that, and then I was taxiing, and then I was a courier, making good money, but I needed money to pay the mortgage, because that's the only way to have a home, to get a mortgage. But it was really hard, I remember doing the plastering, the floorboards, and the tiling the bathroom, everything on my own. It took us 2 years to get a kitchen together. We were just literally getting takeaways or eating off a Bunsen burner, like a little gas burner, for like a year and a half until we had the money to do the kitchen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Life in London is, if you don't have money,
expensive.
It's tough. Most people don't have, mami, z veliko hišo, da lahko pomagajo. Ne gre tako. Ja. Za večino ljudi ni tako. Ja. Yeah. So, but these are all really good. They make you tough. Yeah.
Izkušnje.
Yeah, they make you self-dependent, not dependent on somebody else. Yeah. Because we like to give things, help people, but if you really want to help somebody, make them independent. Help them to become independent. That's the best help you can give anybody. Karkoli drugega damo, to se lahko zgubi.
In potem se je iztekel drugi zakon, tu sva nekako ostala, ko se ti je zdaj iztekla.
I was disappointed with the family, the whole idea of family. Yeah? Because when I was younger, I believed in family. But then as I got older and we had our children, because we had a second child, we knew we were going to separate at a certain point. And so my partner, she said to me, well, look, we've stayed together, we don't stay together, it would be nice for our daughter to have a sister. So I said, okay, if that's what you want, let's do it. So we had a second child. Yeah. And then this was right at the end of our relationship. The day my second daughter was born, I actually met my next wife, my second wife. Yeah. So many things that, we make plans, but life actually does its own thing. And then, as you get, and you're looking at this and thinking, but where is this coming from? Who's actually doing that, Are we just completely lost and reacting all the time? Or is there an organizer of our path and our destiny somewhere, somehow? On a soul level or some other level? Because our mind definitely, as much as it likes to think that it's in control, that it knows, it's not.
Kdo pa potem je v kontroli? To ti je že jasno?
I feel that there's no such thing as control. If there is such a thing as control, it's collective. So if something or someone is controlling my destiny, then it's also a part of you. And it's also a part of my children, also part of the person out there who thinks doesn't know me and is walking the street right now. And part of Alia's family, and so on and so on. I think that's how strong the connection on the essence level is.
To je neka kolektivna zavest.
Yeah. So if there is someone who's driving my destiny, then maybe it's a minute part that you have in my story, but I think it's there. And it couldn't possibly be the story that I live without all of these different factors being a part of it. It would be a different story then, if you took something away. Because one thing is clear, if you watch the elements or if you sit in nature a lot, there is some fucked up, crazy, deep-rooted equilibrium there that you cannot explain. You cannot explain, but it's there. It's there.
Ampak pri nas, pri ljudeh pa dostikrat umanjka. Mislim, težko najdeš bitje, ki ima bolj porušeno ravnovesje kot človek. Vsaj večina ljudi, ne bom rekel, da vsi, ampak so zelo porušena ravnovesja, kar je posledica potem ne ravno najboljše življenje.
I used to believe that human beings as a species are the worst of all species. I used to believe that. Now, over the last 10 years, ja sam prepričan. Because I'm living on the farm 6 months of the year. And, over the last 10 years with the horses, with the sheep, with the chickens, we had some pigs before, not anymore, with the geese, with the cows, we let them roam freely. Yeah? And it took some time, yeah? But they trust us now. Because nimamo za call. We don't actually use them for alimentation or for eating or, we make some organic cheese, but we don't force the milk out of our cows. It's just when it comes naturally. But every day, if I have my door open or if I don't have my door open, the horses and the cows and the goats and sheep, they come to the door and they look in. And if I don't look at them and say something or just have some kind of intentional connection, I go, oh, yeah. They want your attention. Yeah. And if they're not feeling well, they tell us about it. They're not in the same mood and they show us that all the time. If they're feeling good, they actually want to caress you and touch you. And yeah. So it's... most animals that I've met, including the wild pigs that we have, wild boar, they don't want to harm us. The snakes that we have, they don't want to harm us. They only say "Zugibayo." We go after them to kill them because you shouldn't be here. But hang on a minute, they were there before us. This is theirs more than it is ours. We just come in and cut down the forest, right, and take this over and that over and get rid of that grass and that field and put a house there.
Če ugotavljaš, da človek je takšen, kako pa potem to prenašaš na sebe, glede na to, da si ti tudi človek na koncu?
Jaz prenašam na način, that I try and do a little bit. So over many years, I'm responsible for planting over 1 million trees. Not planting, but buying land and allowing the forest to grow in a permacultural way. Because you can plant, but when you plant, it's not the native formula. Partly native, partly not, partly mixed, some other, And the water springs, how they spring up, because it's all about having lots of water springs naturally, coming up to the surface.
To v Braziliji, ti si v Braziliji, ker nekaj zemlje kupil, pa imaš permakulturo, to si razlagal, da puščaš, da raste.
Ja, 100 hektarjev, 95 hektarjev je bilo. In danes je iz tega 80, takrat je bilo enih 15 hektarjev gozda, pa enih 80 hektarjev travniki pa krave. Ja. Ampak te krave so bile za kol. In to smo potem nehali, to je zdaj 19 let, ker imam to farm, I have this farm 19 years now. But I've been running it and living on it for 10 years. Before that, I had someone who was running it for me. But 19 years we've been allowing the forest just to grow, and it's on 3 occasions we had biologists coming in. One of them to create bird watching for city people and stuff like that. But and the idea is that we would open up a trail, but we couldn't open up a trail because the biologists kept stopping every 15-20 meters because they couldn't believe. He said, but this doesn't grow anymore, that doesn't grow anymore, but you can't find this. And seveda, this happened because we allowed nature to do its own story rather than us planting and nature to do our story. Right? So there are all these levels of detail of how to observe and work with nature. Right? The idea with the farm was, let the land tell us what should happen here. So we had to just allow the forest to grow.
Samo to imaš eno zanimivo izkušnjo, ker če gledaš malo, da v današnjem svetu, sploh zahodnem, je zelo težko živeti, da ne škoduješ zemlji. Ne. Lahko si, tudi če si vegan na koncu, ne, dobivaš pa tofu pa sojo iz, ne vem, Južne Amerike, pa to pomeni, da tam rušijo gozdove, da mora iti ladja preko oceana, da ne vem, kaj vse se še dogaja, ne, in to ogromne škode naredi na koncu, ne, nisi nič pripomogel k temu, da bo zemlja lepša. Ne. Tako da je zelo težko sploh najti način, kako biti neškodljiv, pa kako živeti v skladu z ravnovesjem v naravi. Ne.
The formula is a very old one. It's not my formula, it's a universal formula, and it's very powerful. Simple living, high thinking. Stop living so high and stop thinking so low. We are incredible machines. We've been given the most amazing machinery. More than a lion, more than if you put the mind there as well and the self-consciousness. So fucking use it. And let's stop behaving just on an ego basis. Because that's how I was doing for many years. I was, my ego, me. Okay, I'm still egoistic. I still talk a lot, but I'm actually practicing what I believe in. Put my time and energy and money into that. There's going to be profit? No, there won't be any profit in money, but there will be profit in wellness. There will be profit in love. There will be profit in other elements of nature beings and our the animal kingdom being able to enjoy that as well. Ne?
Ampak, ko rečeš simple living, si jaz predstavljam enega puščavnika, ki se umakne od vsega. Ne, in, zdaj pa tvoje življenje ne izgleda kot simple living.
To ne obstaja. To je včasih bilo, ne? Ampak danes to ne obstaja, ker je nas preveč. Yeah. And the world on the surface doesn't look like that anymore, da se lahko odmakneš. Ne moreš se odmakniti. Kamorkoli greš, you are on camera, ne? Satellite. Ne? No,
ampak jaz to mislim, veš, zato, ker če pogledam tvoje življenje, ne, življenje v različnih državah, dosti potovanja, tisto, kar nekaj lastnine, ne, težko povezuješ to s simple living, ne, zato me zanima, na kak način.
Okay, I think to be fair to the collective, the best thing is if I say not what simple living is, but what I see as simple living. Ne. When you take an action, I had to learn this because I fucked up many things in life, but I had to learn this. When you go into an action, think carefully, is it necessary to take this action? Whether you're going to a new project, a new business, or a new child, or going to have a child, or you're going to build a new garage, or you're going to get a new car, or you're going to go and sit down with somebody and have a cup of, give them your time and your energy, or lend somebody money, or do an interview. Think carefully. Is this something that's going to bring value to you and to this other person and to society in general? Is there possible real value there? Or am I doing this simply because I'm going to get some money out of it, or I'm going to get some fame out of it, or I'm going to get something that I like out of it? Is it a selfish endeavor, or is it more than that? Because almost everything is selfish ultimately, almost everything we do. Eh? But is it worth more than the self-selfishness? Is there more than that? Yeah? So before going into an action, when we go into an action, being realistic, what is this action?
V kakšnem smislu?
Yeah. What is the best way to go through this action? Ne? To take control and lead, or open up and surrender, and or put money in, or just put your time and energy, or all of that in. How is this project going to run So it has some sort of value for everyone who is involved. Yeah. And then the third part, I like to put things into 3 parts. There are many more parts, but into 3 so that we can all follow it comfortably. The third part, when this is done, taking responsibility. We did a bad job. We did a good job. We did a mediocre job. We're learning all the time, right? We all make mistakes. But if I did a bad job or a good job, take responsibility for that. Don't just walk away. Yeah? So this is my approach to if I'm building a property, a house, a new house. Yeah? So we clear the land and put a house there. So I go through these steps. Yeah? And taking responsibility for the actions that we take. Yeah? Making sure that the people who are involved, that it's fair to those people. Yeah? When I was younger, sometimes it was too much or too little. Again, be morali, pot je tista, kjer smo prisotni. Is it fair to most of the elements? Is everyone getting something out of this? And this is very difficult. This is very difficult because you're never going to be rich this way. Not in money. You're going to be rich in, you'll sleep well. You're going to be rich, you'll have maybe not 2, but you'll have 15 friends who will always be there for you. They'll put their hand in fire for you.
No, če sodim po tebi, potem je stranski učinek tudi pritok sredstev, zaradi tega, ker imaš kar nekaj nepremičnin, projektov, vsega.
To je največji učinek. Yeah? I made a lot of money and I lost a lot of money because I got involved with the wrong kind of people. Now I could point my finger and say, oh, that fucking politician, or that emotionally egoistic architect, or specific things that happened to me, and I lost $1 million here and 300,000 there, but who's at fault? Was it the architect's fault, or was it the politician, the minister of health, or the governor of the São Paulo, people who I was involved with? It's not their fault. It's my fault. It was my egoistic belief that I could be in partnership with these people. Who do I think I am? That's not simple living, high thinking. That's the opposite. Getting involved with people.
Takrat verjetno nisi vedel, ampak si to skozi čas spoznalo.
Sem že vedel, ampak ne v krvi tako danes. Again, this is something we're coming to, that the mind is a limited tool. In the mind, we can all be geniuses. However, to live like this is a lot more than the mind, because until it's in the blood, until you've gone through those experiences, until you are emotionally strong enough to deal with my own greed, my own desires, my own lust, my own darkness, my own weaknesses, my own egoistic processes, the mind can take you all kinds of places. We know stuff. When I got involved with certain people, I knew that this could be bad. But my ego, my desire, so strong. No, we'll make it work somehow. No. Wrong energies, wrong people, wrong moment.
Torej vedno poslušati sebe, pa instinkte, ki te vodijo naprej.
Yeah, so this is why I was saying that it takes time, and going deep inside, into our fire. And I think the way it works for me is that with every experience that you have, this self-understanding, this feeling, and where you fit, where you don't fit, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Because we all create our own circle of friends, and as we get older, for most people, the circle of friends works as we get older, but sometimes it takes time. Most people don't make the perfect circle of friends the first time around. Mm-hmm. Yeah? So, and we're not meant to, even though we are all collectively contributing to society, living together through dich and intention, actually we can't all be friends. It's just not enough time for that, to be that giving, that patient, to take on everybody's way of being. Mm-hmm. I'm going to look for people who are with a mindset similar to mine, or actions or feelings similar to mine.
Tako se mi nekaj zdi, da čisto po mojih izkušnjah, je življenje na umetnost. Ne? Ko da bi vzel platno, prazno, pa slikal na njega. Ne? In to, kar vidiš, ne, je to, kar si sam ustvaril. Ne? Se motim, ali ti vidiš na podoben način svet okoli sebe? Ne?
Jaz vidim na ta način. Ne? You could describe life like that. Ampak moj občutek ni, da sem jaz to vse sam nastavil. I think there's more. I think that other souls and beings and animals and trees and fire especially and water especially for me have a strong part to play in this.
Torej, tvoj odnos do njih, oziroma če si v ravnovesju za vsem okoli sebe, potem je ta slika verjetno lepša, ne?
Bolj jasna je. Lepša ali ne lepša.
Mislim, lepša ali mogoče ni pravi izraz.
Yeah. There's more sincerity. More recently, last 10 years, 10 years ago I took over the running, the managing of the farm. I had never been a farmer. My mother was never a farmer. Her mother was. But anyhow, so I didn't understand farming. I was brought up in London mainly, most of my life, central London. But you know, what to do now? So it was hard. The first 3 years, 4 years were really hard to get to know the people, to get to know the land, to get to know how things work there, to get the trust of the people, and so on and so on. And people gave me advice, but the number one support, the number one help that I had, and it's still helping me, but especially those first 4 years, come in, fire.
Ogen, torej.
Ogen. Every evening I would sit in front of that fire for 2 hours, 3 hours with a glass of red wine and just silence and ogen.
Pa se to jaz razmišljam, ker to se meni zdi pomembno, da imaš v svoji hiši ogen, ne? Ker ogen je nekaj, kar smo skozi cel razvoj svoj ljudje nosili s sabo. Ne? Je neko ognišče, center našega življenja, ne? Ki se je pa malo zgubil danes. Ne? Če gledaš, večina ljudi nima ognišča v svojem bivališču. Ne? Kar po mojem tudi še bolj povzroča to, kar sva začela. Ne? To odmaknjenost, ta občutek, da nisi del vsega. Ne? Če pa resnici večina ljudi ni več del vsega, ne? Ker nima stika z naravo, nima stika z ognjem, potem imaš pač občutek, da si sam, če nimaš stika z ničemer. Ne? Če se zagradiš v eno betonsko kocko, ne? Pa skoraj da več ne greš ven iz nje. Ne? Potem ta občutek te dislociranosti od vsega je samoumeven.
Yeah, but the route back to sodelovanje or to everything or somewhere between everything and connecting, it doesn't take so long because we all carry a fire. You get ill or you get better, it's via the fire. All the sciences, they operate on the fire in the belly. So we all have our own fire. And this is why it's so important to go back into the center. Yeah? And the fire is at the center, but then we are also made up of water.
Mainly water.
But then we also breathe. So is air more important, or is water more important, or is fire more important? Yeah? But we also have part of earth in us. Yeah? So I'll put it like this: when not the flats and the houses and the projects that I built in the city that I bought from other people, but when I was building stuff, when I was involved in building, it was always built with some level of prisotnost and respect for earth, water, fire, air. How is the air moving, you know? Where's the sun coming in? Where's the sun going out? Yeah. Where's the fireplace? There has to be a fireplace. Where's the water element? Yeah. These are all very, you know, when designing a house or a flat, for me it's important to study this first before you design where the living room will be, how the windows will be, where the fire will be, how the movement in the house will be. Because we create our space that we're going to live in, which is more important than time, in my opinion. in time we get lost all the time. But if you create, like this is a nice space you created here, right? And we are sitting here longer than we intended to, and we could probably sit here for another. We won't, but we could sit here comfortably for another 4 hours. Why? Because you created a comfortable, nice space, so we can forget about time. Even though there's all that stuff going out there related to time, this, that, the other, has to be done on a linear basis. But if the space is nice, so what I'm saying is that when we get involved in creating holistically nice, healthy, comfortable spaces, we don't have to worry about time so much. Then clarity comes to us. So this is now coming on a deeper level back to what you asked earlier. How to walk this path, how to get into this path, how does it work then? Because it's not about how efficient am I in the space of 24 hours or any 2 years, or how much profit I'm going to create in the next 12 months. Like the English people, it's all about what was the turnover and what was the net worth at the end of the 12 months. And every year has to be bigger. It's one of the things that really drove me out of London. But it's all this measurement, all this metrics. What about actually how you feel in a space? Yeah. So one of the first properties I developed was a flat. Was a small house in London. I focused on space, and the estate agent said to me, "You're making a big mistake, Paul. Don't put this money in there. Nobody does that. You just put that. Put this. Don't spend any more than that, and sell it, and go to the next one. It's about turnover." And I went the opposite way. I took more time, 6 months more than I should have, and spent more money. But when it came to selling the property, then there was no negotiation. There was a negotiation, but it wasn't 6 different buyers negotiating, or 2 buyers negotiating on the price down. It was 4 buyers negotiating the price up. So the property went up from the expected sale price. It went up by almost 30%. It went from 235 to almost 300,000. And there were 2 estate agents involved. They came to me, "Paul, the next time you do a property, before you start, come to us, because we love your concept. We really believe in you." Do you see how much bullshit, how much contradiction there is in life all the time? People don't trust their emotions. Yeah? If I was going with my mind and following my thought systems, I would do like all the other developers in London. Get it done, get it on the market. Next one, get it done, get it on the market. Spend the least amount of money possible, make it look on the surface as best as possible. No, how about putting something real into the property? Quality materials, quality craftsmen, quality people who do the plumbing and the electrics, real, for real. Not stuff that then who comes in 2 years later they've got issues with electricity and the cabling and so on, and lighting and water and so on. So this is directly related to how we live, how we think, and the value we put into ourselves. It's not so much about the value I put into that property or the person who moved in. She loved it. Yeah? Because even the tiling in the bathroom and the cabinet was thought about. It wasn't just put there, it was thought about, But the real value is what I'm getting back. Yes, I made some money, but knowing that those estate agents want to work with me, knowing that woman is actually happy with her partner in that flat. That's like, there's no money. Money can't buy that.
Kaj razmišljam, ker smo prej omenila, da je kolektivna zavest tisto nekaj, kar ustvarja vse skupaj. Pa če zdaj razmišljava, da vseeno je fajn ustvariti takšen prostor, ampak manjšina ljudi lahko živi v tem prostoru. Večina ljudi, podatkov 80% v mestih ali 90% celo, vse v Sloveniji. In potem, če gledaš, da večina ljudi pa živi v mestih, kjer nimajo dobenega stika vsem skupaj, niso v ravnovesju, kaj to potem pomeni za vse skupaj? Če kolektivna zavest ustvarja vse skupaj, 90% ljudi pa je nesrečnih v svojih malih betonskih kockah.
I think that particular situation has been, is, and will be, as long as I am living in time. Only. Yeah. So as much as we are subjective, we are also objective. But if we are objective as well as subjective, then why do we have to live only in time? Why not live out of time? Why don't I take the choice to live out of time part of my day? And begin to see that always has been, always is and always will be. But it doesn't have to be for the whole day, or it doesn't have to be for everybody in life. Ne? There are those that I came across who have practiced being out of the box, being with their mind in a slightly different place, looking at this contradiction that we live in all the time, wanting but not getting, thinking that that's how it's going to work, but it doesn't quite work like that, and not surrendering, continuously wanting with the mind to create and control, and giving less importance to the heart, or the heart being all over the place with emotions, falling in love all the time, and not using all the elements together, staying in the box, and not choosing to actually live subjectively and objectively at the same time. If I go to a project and I'm with partners and we said we want to do this, we want to create some wealth. It's going to be some product, it's going to be this, some marketing, but we need a profit. This is an objective endeavor. Yeah? If I'm going into a retreat, for me, there's also subjectivity in that endeavor that I just mentioned. But 80%, let's come back to percentages, because everything is a percentage in a life apart from death. Death is the only definitive dogodek v življenju. Vse drugo is a možnost, so it's a percentage. Ne? So this project, 80-90% objective, 10 to 20% subjective. Now, if I'm going into a retreat, yoga retreat, like I've done so many times in my life, and I've got several yoga certificates. I used to teach as well yoga for a while. But if I'm going into a yoga retreat, for me, that's an 80-90% subjective experience, endeavor, project. But I'm choosing. And I might make some money out of yoga one day eventually, but it's not important. 80-90% is subjective. Here, we're going into a business proposition, yeah? So let's be clear about this. It's 80-90% objective. Now, once you know that, and you put it all on paper, and you plan your endeavor, you plan your project, then you know, are we likely to make profit here, or are we not likely to make profit here? This is respect for society. Why get involved in projects where there it's my desire, it's my ego, I really want to do that, and I haven't studied, is it viable financially? Is it bringing real value to society? Or is it just me and wanting to put my balls and my dick on the table and say, look how big I am, look how great I am. Which way am I actually coming out there, So we have this option. This is why we're quite special as a species compared, because, there are very smart animals out there, but they haven't got this self-consciousness, not to this degree that we have. So we can ask ourselves questions and we can decide. But unless unless you are aware that you're allowed to be objective and subjective at the same time, you don't have to be one or the other. So now we come back to this thing. My indecision is final. With our actions, we do make a decision. Even if I don't make a decision psychologically, intellectually, if I take an action in a direction, there is a decision there. Yeah? However, going through this process that, okay, I'm not making a decision, let's just wait and wait. Let's sleep on this, With our team, with the digital marketing and branding, the whole team gets it now after years, but most of them were running, smo naredili. No, hang on a minute, ker bomo morali še enkrat delati, Sleep on it. The world's not going to collapse, our client's not going to run away, you're not going to die if you don't act now, today. Act tomorrow, act the day after tomorrow. Sleep on it.
In če razmišljam iz najnega pogovora prejšnjega, je yoga kar velik del poti, ki te pripelje do tega, o čemer zdaj govoriš. Ne? Ampak tu moramo nujno povedati, zato ker pač večina ljudi si jogo predstavlja kot vaje. Ne? Joga niso vaje, so del tega tudi vaje, ampak joga je en cel sistem življenja. Kako bi se temu
Na hitro, yoga in generally has 8 limbs. And there are different styles. There's the royal yoga, there's the yoga of love, there's the yoga of devotion, the yoga of service. Ne? And they come to the same point. Yeah? They just come from different angles. Because some people, because it's an ancient system and it recognizes we are all different in how we operate.
Ta point je?
The point, or some sort of equilibrium, union.
Yoga, the meaning,
ravnovesje. The meaning of yoga is union. Yeah? And this is where people say, oh, great, but then they're lost. Why? Because they haven't taken time. Again, we're running, not walking. Yeah? If one takes time and goes into that and starts to study, not just do the exercises, but the exercises will take you. This is how brilliant the system of yoga is, that if you do nothing but the exercises for 10 years, it'll also take you there without any study. Because your blood and your nervous system would have changed so much that your body will tell you.
Pa se to so v osnovi neke različne poti joge. Ne? Joga pravi, ne, da lahko greš preko vaj, da lahko greš preko znanja, da na različne načine lahko dosežeš tisto stopnjo razvoja. Ne?
Yeah, because we are all different. Ne? Some people are more physical, some people are more intellectual, some people are more emotional. For some people, yoga is just service and devotion to God, to the universe, to the idea, to the concept, devotion. So, yeah, it's made so that just about every kind of person can find their way within yoga. So, the asanas or the physical postures, as we call them, the moving postures. Sometimes when they're in flow, for the beginners they're not. This is 1/8. There are 8 limbs. And the other 7 limbs are also very important. There is the breathing, pranayama. There is the service. There is the study. If one wants to actually get a feeling for what this union is all about, then you need to look at what yoga in its fullness. It's a way of life. It's a philosophy to a way of life. It's not a religion, it's a philosophy to how one can live. And by following that philosophy, it is designed to bring your bodies, to bring the mind, to bring the emotions, the psychological body, the emotional body, and the physical body into balance, into union. So they're working together. Because if you watch carefully, for most of us, either the physical body is doing more, or the mind is doing more, or like my father, for example, his emotions are doing everything all the time, and he's like a lost child, even though he's an old man. But that's how we human beings are. Most of us are one or the other more than the rest. So the idea of yoga is to bring the bodies into union. And that way, then you can talk about or feel. Maybe then there is some qualification in talking about spirit. Because then you can feel the spirit through the bodies being in union. You get this greater feeling for aura, energies. You walk into a room and there are 3 people sitting there and no one has shaken hands, but you can already have, just from the aura and just from the energy those 3 people are carrying, you already know how the meeting is going to go. That's yoga. Scientific as well, It's powerful if you go to that level. And this union is a much deeper, much greater thing than just my 3 bodies: physical, emotional, psychological, touching the etheric. It's much bigger and greater in the sense that one begins to learn through practicing that. There's actually some sort of balance in the family. In society, there's also a union of things when things are balanced. Society has been proven can work wonderfully and can be a loss of education and art and a majority, 90% of people are really happy. It can be inverted, 10% are happy and 90% are in misery. But and then we see that it's not just society, you see the planet and nature can also be out of balance or in balance. Things working in union. Or not just our planet and nature, planets also. We see that when certain planets are in certain positions, we get affected in different ways. Or some people with full moon, or some people when, Jupiter has gone around and doing a different course. Now, if you start looking at astronomy, you see how the sea begins to act in different ways. So again, I think you understand why I'm going this way in a couple of minutes. So now we're getting involved in yugas, in thousands of year paradigms. Yeah, not my 24-hour paradigm, but thousands of years. And a lot of these things have been mapped, and people are looking at this and saying, yeah, but things actually go around, and they affect this and they affect that, and so on and so on and so on. So again, there is some sort of order, of some sort of union of these planets out there, yeah, because certain things like dry periods, or poplave, or fires, like we've experienced in Brazil so many times, and poplave tam tudi, or they come round. And then it changes, it comes around again, and we blame it on someone putting a match into nature. But when I talked to that 98-year-old guy, he's seen it happen like 15 times in his lifetime, and it was always under certain conditions. So there is some sort of order which is very difficult for our minds to understand. But practicing Tai Chi and practicing yoga, or practicing some of the greater arts, I think that most of these people begin to get a feeling, a perception for movements in nature, for movements of paradigms.
Potem lahko gledamo, da so ti krogi nek simbol tega našega kroga sansare, maje, ki je okrog nas. Ampak cilj, v tem primeru, cilj ni mogoče prava beseda, ampak v krogu sansare naj bi potem našli pot, ki preseže ta krog, torej nirvano. Zdaj, je to s tem načinom, kot mi govoriva, da se izboljšujemo življenje, ali iščemo neko drugo pot? Tu se moje razumevanje malo porazgubi, tako da mi mogoče lahko ti razložiš, ko si šel malo globje v vse te stvari.
Izboljšamo, poslabšamo, jaz osebno ne morem tako gledati. Because it's all about learning and experience. I think for me what happens, we get closer and closer to the truth. This greater truth, the inner truth, the truth in a relationship, the truth in society, and how things really are. Not how I want to see them, but how things as they are.
Pa misliš, da je resnico, to resnico, o kateri zdaj govoriva, višjo resnico, možno videti v tem našem življenju, pa v tej naši obliki, ali je to šele potem hkrati s spoznanjem resnice prehod naprej drugam, iz kroga, kakorkoli?
Oboje, because it's so relative. Jaz ne morem videti karkoli se pogovarjava, that it's not relative. In my reality, because I'm limited in kaj lahko dojamem, everything is relative. So oboje.
Torej lahko in ne moremo.
It depends. It's relative to what is happening in that moment, because nothing exists after the here and now. That's a projection or a memory. But in terms of like if we're going to try to prove something or actually feel something or touch something, it's got to be here and now, or be something.
Ampak če sva rekla, da je izstopiti iz časa, potem pa je vse vedno, ne samo zdaj, ampak vse. Veš, težko si predstavljati te stvari z našim človeškim umom. Veš, da vsa preteklost, pa vsa prihodnost, pa zdaj obstajajo hkrati kot en velik mehur.
Izstopiti iz časa, for me, izstopiti iz časa, ko včasih delam, for me, it's like stepping into infinity. For me. Because a lot of the processes that I have and programs that I have, especially on the objective level, they just drop away. Even on the subjective level. Because then you allowing yourself just to be. But here we're back to fear again. If the fears are predominant and the fears are very strong, what if, what that, what the other? You cannot. You cannot just step out of time into space.
To je moja izkušnja ena, ne. Veš, ko sem z različnimi temi vajami, ne, prišel do tega, da imaš občutek, da lahko izstopiš iz tega kroga, ne. Pa namesto, da bi takrat se sprožilo to, da se prepustiš, pa greš, ne, se sproži strah, ne. Veš, kaj pomeni to, če zares izstopiš, ne, se lahko vrneš, ne, kaj se bo zgodilo z mano, ne, in potem valjda ne izstopiš, ne, in ostaneš, ne.
Yeah, but here again we're back to the whole idea what you brought up very nicely earlier, the whole idea of death, ne? That when the body dies, that's it, you know, and this is now the deeper level of working on the self. When I met my second partner, I was in a bookshop, and I was looking for a particular kind of book on history, because I was studying history at the time. I did a lot of studying in my own time: empires, history, science, astronomy, astrology, different things that interested me, especially things like the Mayan and Egyptian and what happened to the Celtic system. Why were they so punished for being Celts, for being themselves? But anyhow.
Spoznal si drugo ženo?
Yeah, and so I was in a bookshop, and I couldn't find what I was looking for in a historic book, but this book came at me. Literally presented itself. It was almost like it came out, and so I opened it and I read a little bit, and I said, "This is the book, but this has got nothing to do with history." Yeah. And the book is called The Only Dance There Is. And the book is written by a top American psychoanalyst who decided to give it all up and went to India. He and his friends. He was thrown out of Harvard because he was experimenting with Harvard students and other professors on LSD in the 70s. Yeah. Mm-hmm. For outer experiences, but they took the LSD to such extremes that it made no more sense. So they decided to go out around the world to see if historic science could help the mind, explore the mind further, outer body experiences. Anyhow, this man, today they call him Ram Das. He found he found a guru, and he himself became a guru later on. And he never wrote a book, but other people have made transcripts of his. Mm-hmm. And there was this book called The Only Dance There Is, and it's full of little chapters of Ram Dass and stuff that happened in meetings and stuff. Yeah, and in this book it describes in many different ways, beautifully, yeah, through stories, experiences, journeys. The only real work we ever do, yeah, is the work we do on ourselves. Everything else is just lots of samsaras. Everything else is just one big maya. And we keep living in that illusion. I'm still living in it, doing conferences and this and that. But the only real work we do is the work we do on ourselves. And this was, ko si me vprašal, zadnjič, ko si me vprašal, tisti veliki prelomi, premiki v življenju, to je bil velik premik. And this is where I decided not to do modeling, not to give it up, but not to take it so seriously, but to take acting more seriously and actually get educated in theatre. And I decided to go to theatre. Yeah.
Ampak zdaj, ko sva začela ta sklop, sva prišla že do smrti, pa teme, pa strahov, pa... Ne.
Prišla sem do tega zaradi to, ko si vprašal prej, this deeply rooted fear. Ne? So, again, if I'm talking to you, or if someone comes to me and they want advice on something, I'm not going to give them advice on the basis of something I haven't lived. I'm going to give them advice on the basis of something that I went through, that I can personally say that's how it was for me, and use that to possibly, maybe, give them a structure they can help themselves with. Right? So everything we're talking about is stuff that, so just so that you understand, because some of the stuff I say can be perceived as arrogant, egoistic, self-centered, and a lot of people have found it that way. So I just want it to be very clear between you and me that I'm not going to talk about stuff that I haven't tried out or I haven't lived. Yeah? So fear and this deeply rooted darkness. Yeah? I had looked at it, but never so deeply or seriously as in theatre. And Jan, we were in the middle of a play. We were presenting a play. I was shit scared. I was almost peeing myself on the stage, and on 2 occasions I walked off the stage and I got my stuff and I was leaving. And like 2-3 minutes down the road out of the theatre, I stopped. I said, Paul, what are you doing? This is what you asked for. You asked for this experience. Now you're running away. Maybe you'll never get this chance again. Fucking face yourself, turn around, get back. So I turned around, went back in there. Again, almost pissed myself, but I went back on stage, and the audience and the actors were like, "What the?" And I just went in and I carried on what I was supposed to do. Whether it was going to be good or bad, or they were going to recognize me as an actor or not recognize me as an actor. These are the processes that you go through in the undressing of ourselves at a deeper level. Not being ashamed to share ourselves at all these different levels, especially at the level of where we feel like we're little children, we're afraid of stuff.
Se še kdaj srečaš s strahom pred smrtjo?
Seveda, vsak dan.
Strah pred smrtjo?
Not death. I don't want to die. I love life. But it's not death that scares me. What scares me is suffering or being tortured. So, not interested in, if I get cancer, I'm really not interested in having fucking treatment, because I think for all the cases that I saw with my friends in London and here and in Brazil and Spain, where I lived for 10 years as well, in most cases, if you don't catch cancer early enough, in most cases you end up suffering with all the other medicine and they have to take and stuff that you can't do anymore and you become limited. So it's all about being limited and not being able to live your life. Not being able to go for a walk how you go for a walk, and your freedom being taken away from you through illness, or someone actually physically torturing. That's scary for me. And I don't see why it should be that way. It's that way because we've been programmed into living and eating and thinking and educating in a certain way. But that's not the only way. There are many ways. So I've come across a number of people who lived to 90, 100, and lived consciously, with prisotnost, and to be physically active in life until the very last moment. And when they died consciously. All of these people I'm talking about, they said to me, Paul, today I'm leaving, or tomorrow I'm leaving. And when they go, they take a breath, and there's a long isdi, and they go. So all the stuff, all the experiences they were accumulating through this life, in my mind, in my belief, a lot of that's going with them. But if I'm leaving brez svojega izdiha, and it's taken from me because I'm drugged up and not even myself anymore, or I've got dementia or something, am I really leaving with any experiences into this other consciousness? Because I don't believe that just because I've left the body that there's nothing left. There's something, I don't know what exactly is left, but something is left, because when I burn, thousands of times that I've burnt wood, or I've used gas, or demolished a building and put something else there, whatever element you take, it just changes to something else. It doesn't cease to exist. And what are we? We are made of elements. So if on the element basis, if we don't cease to exist, it just turns into something else, turns into dust. or water, part of us? Why is it that thought or experience or feelings don't also simply transform and transmute into something else, rather than cease to exist?
Ko si prej omenil, da tisti par ljudi, ki so zavestno umrli, so umrli z dolgim izdihom.
Ja.
Življenje začnemo z vdihom in ga končamo z izdihom. Torej je verjetno dihanje mogoče najpomembnejše? Ali eno bolj pomembno?
According to yoga, yes. According to yoga, yes, surrender is more important than dihanje. But dihanje takes you there. Because when you get into more... I don't want to get into pranayama. I don't want to get into breathing techniques because it can be dangerous. But the whole point of yoga, the real point of yoga, and the people who become yogis, is to take you to the point of no breath, not breathing. And my experience in that is very little. But I know people who are very deep in, who are deep in that. My experience, because I've chosen not to practice that on a regular basis, is now very little. But what happens is that izdihneš. In yoga, you learn to inhale shorter and exhale longer to get the carbon dioxide and the impurities out of your body, to create more stability, more cleanliness on the cellular level. So, long izdih. And when this becomes very comfortable, you hardly perceive your breath. When this begins to happen, so that you're breathing but you're not breathing, the point between konec izdiha and začetek vdiha gets longer and longer and longer and longer and longer. I call this point of no breath. And you sit there for longer and longer and longer. And the amazing thing is that this is not an easy practice, so I don't want to really get into it. But the amazing point is that this is like the closest that I've ever got consciously to the state of meditation. When you are, like for 2-3 minutes without izdih ali vdih, med-tem, and you're not breathing. Maybe your body is absorbing your cells, your skin is absorbing something or oxygen on some level, but you are consciously not taking oxygen in or out. It's just in between. But you're not holding it uncomfortably, like I stopped in the middle and holding it. No, it has to all go out and then relax in that and stay. And not pushing or pulling, just staying. And naturally, organically making that longer and longer and longer and longer. That's a really beautiful space to be in. But these type of practices, I'll just say this much, this type of practices where we are going now with yoga, they should be guided. Because you can end up breathing in certain ways and locking up energy centers. You can harm the body and the mind. So if you are guided by the right kind of people, they will take your steps. Very important.
Zdaj smo se dotaknili že smrti, dihanja, biznisa, joge.
Can I just say one more thing, because you asked a very important question. Dihanje most important. I said surrender maybe more important. But dihanje takes you there because in the older scriptures, you'll see it many times, not once or twice, many times. Man, woman, man is connected, if at all, to the universe, to God, via breath. That's our connection to the universe, to the unimaginable, to the non-existable we can't normally touch. Is this how we use and how we manipulate and how we live in this breath, and what we can do with it and not do with it, and how we can live, how we can use it to go beyond.
Čeprav se ga večinoma ne zavedamo, je del avtomatskega procesa.
To je. Everyone knows about the 7 chakras, right? And people love to talk about it, but hardly anyone knows how to work on them, because there's 7 of them. It's a lot to work on at the same time. But let's just quickly, in relation to breath, let's quickly talk about the 3 main ones. that we can touch with our voice. So we have the yeah. I said to you earlier that we'll come back to this Amen, Amen, Om. Yeah? Om, as you hear it, it becomes silent. But it's voiced for most people. Why? So that people can begin to feel it, how it works. Even if they don't rationally understand how it works, if they can hear it as a vibration, the body will perceive it. It has the Yeah? This is the third eye connection with the intuitive, and intention, the intention of something, the intention of creation, the intention of I'm going to do something. And if the intention is strong and focused, it's going to be done well, effectively. Yeah. Here, it is written and sang about as this is where our knowledge sits. This is our knowledge. All the knowledge of the universe actually can be brought into here. And the full intention of the universe there. That's the potential power through Om. Om is described as the sound of creation. But in its silent version, it's always there, vibrating there. And and this is who we actually really are, our base, who we are right here, right now, in this entity, and bringing all the physicality, what we are, with all the knowledge, what we are, with the full intention of the universe together. So this is on the surrender level, the meaning of how they describe Om. And practicing it out aloud fine-tunes the body, so the body can do that by itself. You don't have to sit every day for an hour consciously forcing yourself to go Om, Om, Om. It's just after a certain amount of time it does it silently. That means you are sitting in Om and doing Om and re-frequencizing your vibrations on a daily basis.
Torej, diha je pomembno se samo še prepustiti se oziroma predati se. Kar je, mogoče se samo še tega dotakneva, zaradi tega, ker je to vseeno težko, ker ljudje smo programirani in naučeni se ves čas boriti. Borba, 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 borba. Predati se je pa obratno od borbe.
Obratno, yeah.
Torej,
so going to the gym, a very good example, going to the gym, so doing weights at the gym. Predati se, not that I'm lifting the weight. Predati se s temu that I'm not lifting the weight. I lift it, but what I'm doing is I'm breathing. So all my focus goes on the breath. And it's kind of weird in the beginning because it feels like you're not doing much work, but your muscles will grow, but you're not focusing on you're not focusing on that. You're focusing on using the tensing the muscle. You're focusing on relaxing the muscle and just comfortable in breath, comfortable out breath. Now, and it's a wonderful experience once it gets moving, because then you come out of the gym and you're eating your food. You can then eat your food with the same quality, or you're having a conversation with somebody and you can do it with a comfortable in-breath and comfortable out-breath. And you know how much more pleasant it is to be in that kind of company. But I had to go through a lot of years, a lot of practice. We are talking about 30 years of yoga now in my life. We are talking before that, mantra and Islam and fasting. I was fasting for 6 years straight, Ramadan. And I did fasting the way you're supposed to do fasting, not eat tons of food for that one meal. That one meal, just one normal, basic meal, not exaggerating. And drink and eat once. I didn't get up at sunrise. Most Muslims eat at sunset and at sunrise. You're still having 2 meals a day. I was just having the one, sunset only. Sunrise? No, nothing. And once in my life, on my own, this is when I started to, I consciously decided to go into business when I was 30-something. I decided now I need to make money because my family is suffering and I should stop focusing on myself and my processes and what I want to do in life. I should focus on making money for the family. I went into business and I really started to make money when I went into fasting. So I fasted for 6 months. Eating and drinking, including water, only once a day for 6 months.
Če Hesejevo Siddharto, je, ko ga vpraša, kaj znaš, ko pride v mesto, reče, znam se postiti, znam čakati, znam meditirati. Mislim, da so ti tri tisti, ki so pomembni. In mu reče tista ženska, ki ga učila življenja, da pač, kaj bo s tem si začel. Na koncu se izkaže, da je to vse, kar rabiš.
Ja. Mi zelo malo rabimo. So here we come back to the beginning. Simple living, high thinking. So I was fortunate because of my mother, her uncle, my grandmother, this Jewish lady who became my friend, introduced me to classical music, and I fell in love with classical music in my late 20s, early 30s. Became my world for a while. Because of them, I was able to progress quickly in these areas. Yeah.
In smo spet v krogu prišli od začetka do začetka.
So, this company that you are familiar with, the studio, is built on pillars, and most of the pillars are to do with this. With this, less is more. Real value. What is real? Is there something real for everybody here? And no running, walk. So these are the kind of law of attraction. These are like the 4 main pillars. Let's do our best to try, because it's difficult. We fail every day. We fail, but we try. We try and work on these pillars with our clients, with our service providers, with our in-house systems. So 50% of the profit of the company, we don't employ anybody, but 50% of the profit of the company is to be split with everybody who works with us.
Če se čisto na hitro še dotakneva za konec, tribal system, to je nekaj, k čemu zdaj, kot si razlagal, iščeš, da se postavi neko pleme znotraj te ponorele družbe.
Yeah, it looks like da iščem, v smislu te firme, ker za njih je to vse novo. But I've been doing it physically with my money, with my time and my energy on the farm for 20 years. I created, if you came to the farm, you would see now not one house in the middle of just 100 hectares of cows and neither. You would see a forest, and you would see lots of animals, wild and domestic, and you would see 13, 14 families who have bought from me, have built their houses, but they all respect nature and they all help one another. No one is depending on the other person, but everyone is there. And for Christmas, for New Year's, for Easter, or for the weekends, we just get together and we have a drink, And when the road needs to get done, or someone needs help with something or some advice, we're all there to help each other. That's what the tribal system is about: supporting each other, cooperating. You can't. It's like competition is like the mind. You can never stop competition. It's inherent in human beings. If you observe long enough human behavior, you will see that you cannot stamp out competition. It's inherent, like the ego is part of the ego system. So we will always compete. Yeah. So I don't need to focus on competition, because if someone threatens me, to a point where I don't want to be threatened, I'm automatically going to become competitive, in one way or another. But cooperation is what we should focus on and work on. Not at everything, not to stamp out competition. Competition will be there, but if we focus on cooperation, I think the union for humanity could be more interesting, not just for the 10%. We could change the formula from 90-10 to 10-90. Yeah. So I think of course, lots of people are going to bring me down for saying this, but I think Tito in his own way was trying to work on that formula, knowing that a small percentage of human beings are going to suffer. He's going to have to lock them away because they're not going to support his system. But he did manage to provide a decent quality of life for 80-90% of the population.
Vse komunizem naj bi v osnovi bil to. Yeah.
He punished a number of people who wanted to carry on with selfishness, or let's say they wanted to be more important or have rights that weren't the same for everybody else, or wanted to have more freedom of expression or more free say. But where that takes you is yet another question. Here we're going into philosophical, political, social arguments and debates, and we can be there for years. But I still think there is something in Tito's experiment. I think there was something of value there. That history, other governments, political systems, economic systems should look at.
Pa se je izkazalo dosti boljše kot neoliberalizem, ki je zdaj prevladujoč sistem.
V mojem smislu, ja. Because what we have now, they like to call it, a fair capitalist society. A lot of politicians are scared to use the word democracy because they know there's no democracy. It's bullshit. Yeah. But they like to call it some kind of a fairness, fair capitalist system for all. But if you look at it very carefully, last 20 years, wages rise by 50%, prices rise by 800%. So what's fair in that? Yeah? I'm driving to Ljubljana. 20 years ago, it was wonderful. Yeah? Now I have to continuously worry about, is this lorry or the other lorry going to run me over? Or is that car looking where I'm going or not looking? Do we need all those cars? Do we need all those imported goods? For the minority, yes, because they earn taxes and they make us work. Yeah? But do I need all those imported goods, or can I not just get 80 or 90% of my produce from Dedek around the corner? Mislim.
Se veš, kaj meni je zanimivo pri demokraciji, ki jo tako radi uporabljajo, da živimo v demokraciji. Izvorno demokracija je bila kaj? Sužnji lastniški sistem. Zato, ker je bila v Grčiji, Atene, izvor demokracije. Sicer meščani so bili svobodni državljani in so bili demos kratos, ker ljudstvo vlada, ampak vsi ostali so bili pa sužnji. In moram reči, da se nikaj dosti spremenilo od takrat.
Here we have a lot. We can sit down again if you like. But regarding systems and empires and how they started, how they evolved, how they reached their peak, and how they came down again, various. Because we have 3,000 years of written history. Okay, it's not all exact truth in the books, how it was, scriptures, how it was. But if you take enough material, you can get close enough to how it was. And the proof is there. Exactly what you say, the proof is there. So, I'm very much with Nietzsche. I'm not so much with Freud and Jung. I'm much more with Nietzsche in how he looked. It was a complex view to the simplicity of human behavior, on the moral, egoistic level. Whereas, Freud was focusing on other things, especially on sexual behavior. This is just one part. An important part, but one part. But I think Nietzsche took it much, much deeper. And the way he described human behavior is basically what you're saying, that there will always be a smaller element that will want to obvladati, that will want to control the rest. So this is part of the bigger paradigm and the longer yoga, the longer union that we need to learn as collectively.
Mislim, da najboljše tu počasi zaključiva, pa če bo potrebno se še enkrat kasneje drugi del narediva, pa se spustiva še v te stvari.
Z veseljem, če boš imel čas. Tu je ogromno ljudi. Prišla smo tam do 30. leta. Od 30 do zdaj, do 57. Teh 27 let se je ogromno dogajalo. A lot of stuff. And some fuck-ups and ogromno potrditev, katero smer je prav iti, ne? Mistakes and finding the way. And some very interesting people and some very interesting processes. And again, time and time again, touching on this thing on death. Is death life or is life death, or they're just one and the same thing? Is it just a continuation, one of the other? But, you know, we can go into this whole life-death formula another time. Yeah.
TOTI podcast part 2.
Bomo videli, če boš. Ja. Ampak najlepša hvala. Da si mi dovolil toliko govoriti, ne?
Ja.
Zdaj bom lahko tih za par dni, ne?
Hvala ti, Pol.
Hvala, super, ja.